How are you?
I know, you're from. Where are you?
I live in Beirut.
Like, oh, okay. Put my phone, then I was like, I'll just rewatch the movie.
Where's your guy?
Wow. That's all I know, but
Have you been?
no, I've never been. I
should go.
need to go before I die.
Good.
But my grandpa, every time I bring it up, he's like, it's too dangerous. You can't
Not
go.
too much.
Oh,
I was dangerous probably like 3 years ago.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's when he left.
okay. My dad lived there for like a year. He was 5,
Yeah.
and then they left.
You know where?
Lohan. I can dig up this information and get back to you.
What's your last name?
Long. No, it wasn't.
I would be able to send you. But that's a big fan.
Like actor.
We should go there.
I do. I was talking.
Really beautiful.
I was talking to Dan about it.
Oh, I know. Are you going to the thing next week?
I think the
Party. Oh no, this was.
yeah, I'm going this week.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
Okay, so we're getting that cast.
Just for that ad for it was pretty.
Like, not the select. I think so. Like, it could be. How are you?
Yeah, they're. I feel like they're probably our most enthusiastic. I gotta say, they got some.
Yeah.
I'll give you my.
Wait, senior?
Oh, I'm a junior. I'm a first year.
Sex.
Oh, okay. We're gonna do.
Other hand. Step out and raffles.
Are you in
That's
computer science?
No, I'm probably 7.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm.
Okay.
I think.
What do you want? Like, what kind of?
I don't know, but I want to go to mining.
That was at the sex for
That's really my friend.
comedy class.
Public health.
Yeah, I'm getting my master's.
Nice.
So I want.
But yeah,
Where are you going?
events tonight. I was like,
Oh, okay.
I want to do something at home.
I'm gonna go to the drag once. I joined. I was like drag workshop. I think
You're doing your master's
one, and then Thursday is drag / open. mic.
Like I'm graduating.
What they learn tomorrow.
on it.
Do it at open mic on Thursday.
When you transfer.
DeAndre College, Bay Area.
Yes.
Where is it?
Okay. You know, grab.
Oh.
That's the scary thing about it. Oh,
Yeah. It was, I feel like I was kind of like the chiller part of a,
I feel like it's very.
yeah. It wasn't great.
I bet.
Wait, so when did you?
When I graduated.
Okay, got you.
First
Me-
time that day was.
Like, I remember talking to like my
Okay,
bring the
that's
program.
a big
And I'm
adjustment.
like asking my friend.
Yeah,
Oh, wait.
I went to the American high
That's
school.
right. How
Okay,
everywhere.
yeah. Made you want to go. Okay. Yeah.
There were times like you like looking
Kind
at
of. But and then like by the time I got in, I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah. Whereas.
I was. I don't know. I thought about it same time. And it was like, I told myself no, I was like, I told myself I wouldn't go, and then I got it. I was like, maybe.
But for pony side, I think.
You feel like,
I mean, I'll
they're both pretty good,
write that down though in terms of like if
and I feel like Berkeley kind of swaps.
that was the. Okay.
More competitive.
Oh, no, wow, nice hair, Chris. Thank you.
I'll let you.
Sounds just silly as
Good.
about like you guys are doing like a health fair. Yes. Okay, I respond. So I'm happy to whenever you guys. I think I put out so whenever y'all are free, I would. That sounded great. Oh, I'm sure. Then I was guys' post about like the lobby thing now, like.
Absolutely.
Out the bag, I knew.
Got this one. Had to get. But at least I have IT. I love it.
How was the event?
What?
How was the event?
It was good.
Tomorrow.
I'm going. I think so.
Like a show or like a.
Oh, I think it's like a workshop kind of thing, but they're gonna like, but then Thursday is drag show / open. Like which?
I wouldn't know.
I think the name is Pickles.
That's a nice, you know,
It's just funny because I was hearing my finance director and sex ed director in the office the other day. Just
pickles. That's so funny. That's good. I'm fine. I want to go to the CEC thing though. Huh? I'm going for her to get like on her behalf.
I mean, I
Okay, everyone, we should get started. Where's Jonathan? Aw. I call this meeting to order at 7:08 p.m. We're gonna start with the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Have you?
Can we start bag allocations?
Yes.
And also I would like to add a letter to the agenda. USAC letter of opposition against AB 85 law. What's the name of this? Law enforcement cooperation.
motion?
Yeah. I move to add a letter to the agenda on a letter of opposition against AB 85 by Assemblymember Asali.
I second.
Have your motions, Kara seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With an 11-0 vote, that is approved. Any more amendments to the agenda? Bethany?
Hi, can we please strike capital contingency allocations, please?
Yes. Any more amendments? Seeing none, can we get a motion to approve the agenda, please? Have you?
I move to approve the February 11th USAC agenda.
I second.
Have your motions, Kiara seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 10-0 vote, that is approved. Is there any opposition to approving the February 4th meeting minutes? Seeing none, we're going to move on to public comment. Just a reminder for everyone that's here for public comment, we have 30 minutes total. Each public commenter gets 2 minutes to speak once. And some of our community guidelines are challenge ideas, not individuals, use gender inclusive and respectful language. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability, and no dehumanizing language. With that being said, do we have anyone here that's here for public comment? Leila?
Hello. Okay. Hi, I'm Layla Salam. I'm the chapter chair of CalPERG at UCLA, where last week we just wrapped up our pledge drive where we signed up 860 new members and educated 1,936 people about why we should protect our oceans and expand marine protected areas in California. And we've just collected so much support, but our campaign doesn't stop there. This week, we're going to host a photo petitioning event tomorrow on Bruin Walk from 11 to 2. So you guys should stop by. It's going to be like an I Heart MPA's Valentine's Day themed thing. But you all represent students, and that's the group we want to advocate for. So it would be great if you could come by. This week, we're also going to comment at the Fish and Game Commission meeting. And next week, we'll have our Oceans Week of Action, where we'll have an event basically every day to make an impact on our campaign. And we're going to deliver all of this support when we go lobby in Sacramento from March 8th to 10th. But some quick updates on our other campaigns, on our hunger and homelessness / fire relief campaign. We'll continue our volunteering this week and next week with the Bruin Relief Initiative. After raising over $6,000 for fire relief aid orgs, we want to continue helping people rebuild. I know for myself, people I interact with every day lost their homes and are going to be recovering for a long time. So this is really important work, and I'm glad to be working together with you all on this. Our other campaign, UCLA Sustainability, will be working over the next couple weeks to educate students about a future campus that uses cleaner energy and is less reliant on plastic. So keep a lookout for that. And then also next week, I want to share an important way you all can get involved to help reduce education costs through lowering the cost of textbooks nationally. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you, Leila. Is anyone else here for public comment? If you're online, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I would close public comment at 7:13 p.m. and we're going to move on to funding, starting with contingency.
Hi, this week we had a total contingency program request of $46,446, and we recommend an allocation of $18,029.17 for one USAC entity and 43 non-USAC entities. And I'm happy to answer any questions, and I've also pasted that in the chat.
Someone motion those, please. Have you?
I move to approve the recommended contingency programming request of $18,029.17 for one USAC entity and 43 non-USAC entities.
I second.
Having motions, Josh seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And Tamim, is that against?
No, that was for. Sorry.
Okay. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 10-0 to 0 vote, that allocation is approved. Next, we have SFS with Carolyn.
This week, we recommend an allocation of $1,672.79 to 3 non-USAC entities and 0 USAC entities.
Is there any opposition to that allocation? Seeing none, we'll move on to SWC programming.
This week we recommend a total of 4 allocations totaling $1,614. All 4 are to non-USAC entities and 0 USAC entities.
Is there any opposition? Seeing none, we'll move on to ASRF and AAC travel.
Good evening, everyone. I'm putting it in the chat, but this week we recommend an allocation of $2,675.06 to 9 non-USAC entities. And for the Academic Success Referendum Fund, we recommend an allocation of $2,000 to 2 non-USAC entities.
Is there any opposition? Seeing none, we'll move on to Bruin Card and Laundry Grants with Nico.
Hello, everyone. The Bruin Card grant has a recommended allocation of $120 to 18 non-USAC individuals. And then the Laundry grant has a recommended allocation of $575 to 115 non-USAC individuals.
Is there any opposition? Seeing none, so we'll move on to, do we have CS Mini Fund allocations? Okay. We'll move on to
Adam.
Sorry.
We do have ARC allocations to approve. I'm going to be presenting those. That's okay.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, go ahead with ARC.
Yeah, of course.
Completely skipped over that.
Yeah. So this week we have a recommended ARC allocation of $55,723.93 to 26 non-USAC entities.
Is there any opposition? Seeing none, we'll move on to appointments. We have our facilities commissioner, Joy. Hey, Joy. Just a reminder of how appointments work. We're going to start off with a 1-minute opening statement, followed by a 15-minute question and answer period. After that, we'll have a 1-minute closing statement. We'll hear ARC's recommendations, have council member deliberations, and then we'll vote. With that being said, go ahead with your 1-minute opening.
my name is Joy Huang. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a third-year environmental science student. With my commitment to making campus more sustainable and accessible for all students, I'm applying for Facilities Commissioner. As the Sustainability Chief of Staff, I've seen how important FAC's work is in making campus more accessible and sustainable for our student body. I'm committed to ensuring that FAC can continue supporting all student voices, especially for students with disabilities. Throughout my 3 years in FAC, as well as my time in UCLA Farmers Market and Westwood Food Co-op, I've developed my skills in leadership, project management, and collaboration with diverse students and stakeholders. These skills, along with my familiarity with FAC's projects, will be necessary as I advocate for FAC initiatives and student needs, making me a good fit for this role. As Facilities Commissioner, I hope to have a greater role in advocating for student needs in sustainability, accessibility, and transportation. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. We're now going to move on to the 15-minute question and answer period. Do any council members have any questions? Kiara.
Hi there. Thanks so much for coming tonight. It's great hearing a little bit about your background so far. So from your experience in FAC and within the sustainability sector and everything, what would you say would be some of your main priorities going into the next few months and things that you would love to see come to fruition by the end of the year?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Working in FAC and my other student organizations that are very focused on environmental justice and sustainability, I've gotten to work with a lot of diverse students and stakeholders that sort of have equipped me with the skills that are necessary for advocating for diverse student needs. And I guess my vision for FAC going forward in these next few months, I understand that I am coming into this role mid-quarter, so there will be a learning curve, but my main priority is to maintain and strengthen FAC's current goals and projects, such as their Sustainable Move Out program. And besides that, I would also like to focus more of our attention on accessibility, especially for students with disabilities. I would like to collaborate with organizations like DSU to advocate for the increase and improvement of Bruin access fans, as well as the improvement of CAE accommodations.
I have kind of a follow-up question. How do you anticipate your transition will be either to the new commissioner or to yourself next year, and how are you going to prep for that?
Oh, okay. So next, you were talking about next year, not.
How are you going to work within these 2-3 months to best transition either to a new commissioner or to yourself next year?
Yeah, so regardless of if I run for next year or not, I would like to strengthen the continuity in FAC and the retention in FAC. So I would like to take somebody sort of as like somebody under my wing so they can shadow me and sort of see what roles and responsibilities I have within USAC. And also strengthen communication within our commission to ensure that staffers, directors, and our executive board know what's happening in USAC, and any interested staffers or directors who might want to do USAC next year can certainly transition into the role smoothly.
Thank you. Any questions? Chris.
Thanks for coming.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any are there any significant issues that you see maybe coming up or difficulties you see coming up transitioning to this role mid-year and just 1 quarter before the term ends? And then how do you feel like you can address those?
So I would say one issue that is of priority for me, even coming in mid-year, is accessibility for all students, especially for students with disabilities. Something that I know we've been working on was the increase in the improvement of Bruin access fans. So that is something I would like to focus my attention on, as well as strengthening our collaborations with organizations like DSU to advocate for the increased accessibility of resources like mass, and also the improvement of CAE accommodations. But I would say accessibility is definitely the forefront of the issues coming in mid-quarter.
Espino.
Hello, Joy. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. In your introductory statement, you mentioned that you have experience in project management. Can you tell us a little bit about perhaps one project you led and what you think made it successful in its implementation?
Yeah, that's a great question. Within FAC, one project that I led last year as the Sustainagoals project director was the Reusey sort of rollout at Kirchhoff Cafe. Reuse is the reusable mug program at Kirchhoff, and it was the first mug program there. And so it started off not having too much student usage, but what we did was I collaborated with students in my committee to sort of increase and improve the awareness around the whole program. And this resulted in like a 57% increase in the usage of the mugs. But yeah, that project I guess would involve a lot of event management as we had like a Valentine's Day themed event outside of Kirchhoff where we advertised the mug and also gave out prizes to people who signed up for the app.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Seeing none, Joy, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1 minute closing.
Thank you for your time and consideration today. Throughout my time in FAC and diverse student groups, I've developed a strong commitment to ensuring that campus is sustainable and accessible for all students, whether through advocating for student food security, universal access to public transportation, or the improvement of student accommodations. Along with my familiarity with FAC's goals and projects, my experiences have equipped me with the skills necessary to advocate for student needs. As Facilities Commissioner, I'm excited to not only represent FAC, but serve as a voice for students of all backgrounds in making campus more inclusive, sustainable, and accessible. I'm ready to learn how to best represent our diverse student body, and I'm eager to engage with council members, administrators, and other groups in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh, could we get ARC's recommendations, please?
Joy had an excellent interview with ARC, having served in FAC for multiple years and serving as this year's Chief of Staff for the Sustainability Committee. ARC has no doubt that Joy will make a successful commissioner for the remainder of the school year. We're very excited to see some of Joy's goals to improve the commission, including strengthening accessibility initiatives by focusing on improving Bruin access, while also focusing on existing initiatives such as sustainable move out. With a 3-0 to 0 vote, ARC highly recommends Joy for this appointment.
Thank you. We're going to move on to council member deliberations, and I'm going to start. First of all, I really like Joy's application, and that was coupled with a lot of recommendations from people in FAC, which is why I moved her forward. And I think I speak on behalf of all of us when we say we're excited and you had a good interview. So unless anyone else has any other comments or concerns, yeah, have you.
Hi. Just want to say I really enjoyed your interview here with us today. One thing I really did like that you pointed out was sort of the pivot towards focusing more on students with disabilities and making sure that campus is more accessible, especially as we have seen like a scary shift towards defunding certain services and like students unfortunately falling more through the cracks. So I'm really glad to see that you already have like such tangible goals or like such tangible actions that you want to work towards, even though you only have a few months in office in this position. But thank you.
Thank you.
Kara?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Javi said and just say, I enjoyed hearing all of your responses today and reflecting upon your experience and taking what you've learned through your experience in FAC and everything, and then also how you'd shape that for your vision moving forward. And I'm excited to see what you want to do come to fruition and see FAC grow.
Thank you.
Any other comments or concerns? Or Karen, the laptop was blocking you.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed listening to your responses. I admire how you have already those very tangible, specific goals, but also how you already have experience and have been able to learn and grow from that. And I look forward to hopefully getting to work with you in the future.
Thank you.
Any other comments or concerns? Hi, Shiv. Seeing none, could we get a motion?
I motion. Oh wait, I don't know if that's.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I motion to appoint Joy Huang to the role of Facilities Commissioner.
I second that motion.
Karen motions, Josh seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With an 11 to 0 vote, Joy is appointed as the Facilities Commissioner.
Ooh, thank you so much.
We're now going to move on to officer reports. Mine is going to be completely written. Josh?
Just a couple things. CAB's networking night is Monday, February 24th. I'll send the RSVP link again. We have a lot of people coming. We have the ACCA CEO coming. Vice Chancellor Beck is also coming. And we also have a few sole advisors coming. So if you or your staff members are interested in attending and getting to network with student org leaders as well as administrators, please fill out that RSVP form. My events team is doing a Valentine's Day bouquet making event on Thursday, February 13th in the Hedrick Movement Studio at 2:30 p.m. So show up if you're interested. And then I'm meeting with GSU, AC, and UCLA Transportation this Friday to discuss issues with Bruin access. Also, I know there was some concerns brought up in the last meeting with Beck, Vice Chancellor Beck, about Bruin access's funding being cut. So I'm meeting with SFAC this week to sort of navigate those issues and see what SFAC can do. And then lastly, setting up a meeting with the new ABC of Campus Safety with EVP, IVP, and OP to begin discussing policies and priorities for the remainder of the school year.
Abby?
All right. Yeah, let's just go start off with some quick opportunities. Right now, the UC Students Association is looking for a basic needs appointed officer. This application is due on the 16th, which I believe is Monday? Wait, Sunday. Guys, I know the days of the week. But yeah, basically you would be in charge of helping work system-wide with the different UC campuses, especially the EVP offices, on addressing student basic needs concerns in regards to things like food insecurity and access, housing, etc., literally anything under the sun. So if you are interested in that particular position, please feel free to reach out to me if you would like any support with your application. But yeah, also, we are also looking for applicants to be a student advocate to the Regents, also known as a STAR, for the March Regents meeting here at UCLA. This is the last Regents meeting that's going to be held at UCLA for this academic year. It is essentially all expenses paid, but if you live here, obviously that's not a concern. But also, you do get backstage access with the University of California Board of Regents, which is a 26 member board that helps create and implement policy here at the UC that impacts student life, worker life, etc. So if you are interested in applying, I attached the original post advertising it as well as the application, and that one is due February 25th, so 2 weeks from now. And then there's also a post that EVP recently made about submitting a letter of opposition against Assembly Bill 85. I put a letter for USAC to sign on to the agenda, but for those of you who are unaware, Assemblymember Asali basically introduced a piece of legislation that would allow for law enforcement to cooperate with immigration authorities such as ICE and California Border Patrol through detainment and providing information if a person has been convicted of a felony. This would completely undo like previous California legislation such as Senate Bill 54, the California Values Act, and unnecessarily scapegoats and fearmongers around the dangers of having undocumented folk in the country. So it's really pertinent that we act on this. This is a collaboration with the UC Students Association and ideas, but we are trying to also get this out onto the wider undocumented student-led network, which is the UC-wide version of ideas, essentially in layman's terms. But moving forward, I also help participate in the monthly meeting with Vice Chancellor Michael Beck, and as Josh was saying, we covered different topics such as the transition to a new AVC of campus safety, revised TPM policies, which are currently waiting on, and also disability services on campus. I'm hoping ISR Tamim and Gen Rep Diego to follow up with Vice Chancellor Monroe regarding improved communications and support for our undocumented students and international/visa students that are under fire by the Trump administration as of right now. I'm also planning on working with IVP to follow up on updates regarding CAE, including the potential defunding of Bruin access. Another thing, just attended the first meeting since the November election of the California Undocumented Higher Education Coalition meeting. This coalition has been existing now for quite a few years, almost a decade. It was formed in 2016 in response to the overt anti-undocumented attitudes by the Trump administration with the goal of ensuring that over 100,000 undocumented students enrolled in California higher ed institutions are protected and supported by state policy and higher education systems. So we're really looking forward to being able to collaborate them a lot more to help support undocumented like allies and community members through policy. And then just last few things before I leave, working with the UCSA's Black Student Success Officer to help bolster mother organization participation for our upcoming lobby days. UCSA February board is this weekend at UC San Diego, which should be exciting. Also continuing to work with UCSA, the African Student Union, and EVP's Black Student Affairs team to help author different resolutions related to Black student success, access, and retention, with the first one hoping to be introduced by next council meeting. We are also able to participate in a very successful political science career fair earlier today, hosted by EVP's federal team. I'm also working with UCSA's government relations director to find student testimonials regarding the state of on-campus basic needs services. Yeah, and the rest of my report will be ran by encourage everyone to please read through and, reach out to me if you have any questions or would like to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you, Javi. Diego.
Everyone, mine is going to be written, but I wanted to highlight our town hall with the HSI initiative and other diversity, I guess like Office of Inclusive Excellence administrators, February 18th, 4 to 6 p.m.
Thanks, Diego. Tommy. Ramsey.
Hi. So, sorry, Gen Rep 2, it's going to be mostly written for the most part, except I do want to highlight the UCLA Black Caucus, which will be held next Tuesday on the 18th at 5 p.m. In the BBRC. So please spread the word and come show up. And yeah, rest will be written. Thank you.
Ramsey.
Hey everyone. So I've been gone for a bit, so I am going to give updates today, but I'll try to keep it quick. So with meal access, we're going to be with UCLA Dining in collaboration with OCHC and Swap at Hunger for our platform to add the Swap at Hunger form to the meal plan sign-up students do in the spring, as well as to discuss some other initiatives. We're also considering additional initiatives to support Swap at Hunger accessibility. For summer storage, we are not going to be able to do the original plan that I campaigned on, collaborating with ACUCLA to purchase storage from nearby facilities. There's an existing partnership between housing and storage scholars. But we are going to be meeting with ACUCLA later this week next week to discuss alternative ideas regarding summer storage and other platforms. We still really want to get something done there. For career support, we're going to hold three career support panels during weeks 1, 2, and 3 of spring quarter, and they'll each be on a different career path. For USAC accessibility, we're going to be reviewing USAC committee descriptions to improve detail and clarity. I think we all kind of would agree that it's really important that applicants to USAC committees really understand what they're applying for and have all the information that they need. So we're reviewing them to try to make sure that they are descriptive enough. We also want to implement a system where applicants can reach out to students who are previously on committees to basically ask for information on what those committees actually do and what they should know before they apply. For affordability, we're in talks with UCLA Financial Aid and Scholarships to automatically import UCLA application data into the UCLA Scholarships portal to make applications easier. For Broom Buddies, we've assigned mentors and mentees for this quarter and are continuing programming in collaboration with the ISR office. And I think that both teams are doing a great job. And finally, we're going to have an event in collaboration with the LA Dodgers in April, where we're going to basically send hundreds of UCLA students to a Dodgers game for free. And so if you guys want to attend that, we'll send out the information once it's finalized, but it's pretty exciting.
Thank you. Espino.
Wow, that's some really cool stuff, Chris. Dodgers game. I'm not an athletic guy, but that's really cool. Props to you on that. Okay, my report is mostly going to be written, but I will say there are some exciting things that I do want to make sure to mention. One being that we're currently reviewing applications for the SARP, the Student Ambassador Registrar Pilot Program, with the hopes of it becoming an annual thing housed under AAC. So we're, as I mentioned, currently reviewing applications. This is very exciting for our office. The next thing that I'm working on is on the what's it called? It escaped my mind. Oh yes, the Interdepartmental Council. I'm working on the bylaw change, which will be housed underneath the AAC. But essentially, what has happened over the years that I've seen that has been left out is departments have student advisory councils, right? The political science department has the political undergraduate science council. The history department has one. So we're going to create a standing committee housed underneath, we're hoping to create a standing committee housed underneath AAC so that they could advise the commissioner moving forward, in hopes to also influence departmental policy, not only academic senate related policy. And then the next update before I just refer back to my written reports is that passion project presentations conducted by senators will be presented during to USAC at the beginning of next quarter. And for the rest, just refer to my written report.
Carden.
Yes, I just have a couple things. CSC is hosting an advocacy event called Empower, which will be next Wednesday. February 19th. We'll be assembling care packages for local women's shelters. There's also going to be some organizations tabling, a beauty swap where you can bring in different beauty items and swap them for sustainability, tote bag making, and also a community art project. So highly encourage you guys to show out to that. We're currently accepting donations for the care packages. So that's clothing, personal care items, and cleaning supplies that will be assembling to care packages and donating. And then another event we have coming up is Nonprofit Networking Night. That's going to be not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after from 5 to 8 p.m. And if you're looking to do some nonprofit work, whether that's for full-time opportunities, internships, or just to volunteer at for the time being, feel free to go attend that. I know a lot of people who were able to get opportunities there. And last thing is we still have some opportunities open for fire relief for the Burn Relief Initiative. We've had a lot of people come out, which has been really exciting, and we have a couple more sites. So if you want to volunteer, please come. Thank you.
Thank you, Nico.
Hi everyone. The new FSC funding bodies launched yesterday, and we already got a decent amount of applications, which is exciting. So if you know anyone who would be interested, definitely let them know. But then other than that, everything else will be written. Thank you.
Kiara.
All right. Hi, everyone. Have a few updates. Let's see. So, okay, the first thing I want to highlight is that it's Sex Week. Our committee Sexperts, yes, woohoo! Our committee Sexperts, which focuses on sexual health, education, literacy, all of the above, is collaborating with HEART, the outreach program at ASH, on many events throughout the week. So they have quite a range. I hope it was great seeing some of you at the resource fair today with a bunch of different reproductive justice, some of our other committees and orgs that were giving out resources and such. And so there are some events going on during this, unfortunately, so we cannot be there. But tomorrow, Thursday, they're continuing throughout the week. So want to highlight that. And then let's see, we have a menstrual hygiene fair tomorrow in Bruin Plaza from 11 to 2 p.m. With Bruin Necessities. So that's exciting. Met with HEART and the Plan C organization regarding the future of reproductive health in the country and resources from in-state to international, out-of-state students on collaborations and potentially doing something in the spring. And then for the Burn Relief Initiatives, thank you, CSC, for supporting us organizing some of that. We'll be working on distribution in the next week, coordinating maybe with the Volunteer Center on campus, but also with local distribution centers. And then met with ASU Slade Bob this week just to discuss any feedback that they've gotten regarding student worker experiences and, how their health, well-being, that kind of area, but hoping to meet with SLAP soon. If anyone has any contacts, let me know. And yeah, I put in some other dates for upcoming events and things throughout the commission and the committees throughout the rest of the quarter, but that's it for me.
Thank you, Mona.
I'll keep it mostly written, but we have an event coming up starting on February 22nd, which is a Hammer Museum tour for non-trad and marginalized students. And that graphic is going to go out shortly. So when it does, I would really appreciate if your Instagrams could repost it on your stories. But everything else will be written. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamim.
Everything will be written tonight.
Okay, Orlando.
Hello, everyone. Okay, let me restart. Hello, everyone. Just one quick update. Tuesday, March 4th, I believe. Yes, Tuesday, March 4th, 3 weeks from today. Sonia, our UC student region designate, will be here on campus for their town hall. I'll be working with Javier in the EVP office on organizing a group one. So I should have more information next week about not only the town hall, but also the potential USAC meetup with her as well. So, okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, Orlando. Jessica.
Just a brief update from me on programs. We are starting to plan our summer in the union activities, so won't really impact you all for your term, but just as you're thinking of transitions to the incoming officers, it's a great opportunity to get in front of incoming students that are participating in new student programs through orientation. And then this year, we're also going to be doing a lot of programming for students who are taking summer session classes. So you happen to be around for summer session, you can participate in the programs. But if any office is interested in collaborating just to kind of get student government more out there and connecting with students, let me know, because we're having those conversations now. So looking forward to starting that up in July. That's it.
Thank you, Lori.
The only thing I have is March 3rd, Recreation opens their spaces for spring. TBD on what is happening with Sunset for spring. If you've been by, it's really sad.
Jonathan, does anyone have his reports? Is Peter with us? Peter is not with us. We're going to move on to new business, starting with the Robert S. Michael Scholarship Guidelines. Karen?
Yes. Okay. Let me pull that up real quick. Yeah. Okay. So CSC, we have the Robert S. Michaels Leadership and Service Award. It's an annual award that CSC allocates to around 10 students. And it's an award of $1,000 that will be distributed through their financial aid, as well as $250 to use for their student organization that's focused on service. So yeah, feel free to check out the guidelines. I'm just gonna go through the highlights because it's pretty long. It's gonna be due a little bit earlier this year. Normally it's due in May, but we're actually making it April 17th because there's normally some issues with transitions and like getting the award. So we're gonna be doing it about a month earlier. And then you can read out the questions. They're the same from year to year, except this year, in prompts part 2, leadership top 10, we chose persistence as the category that we're asking the supplemental questions on. So talking about persevering in their life as well as their service work. And yeah, feel free to ask if you have any questions. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but I can give everyone like a minute to like read over. I think I just do need to get it approved from y'all.
Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, perhaps you.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, how's this scholarship publicized?
Great question. So we normally publicize it on our CSC social media and our newsletter, but we also publicize it on department like newsletters to get wider reach, as well as hopefully we'll like have it shared through Soul as well.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Yeah, if you have any ideas for publicizing, let us know. And I'll also have you guys like, I'll share the post with you guys to repost if needed.
Lori? Yeah, we'll definitely work with you on it.
Could you send me a copy of your advertising? I will put it in the recreation Slack.
That would be amazing. Yeah, we'll do.
If there are no other questions, can we get a motion?
I motion to approve the Robert S. Michaels Leadership and Service Award application guidelines.
I second.
Carried in motions, Javi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 9-0 to 1 vote, that is approved. We're going to move on to a resolution of no confidence in Steve Lurie as Associate Vice Chancellor for Campus and Community Community Safety. Tommy, do you want to read through it or summarize it?
Yeah, I can summarize it real quick. So basically, just in brief, let me pull it up real quick, sorry. So this resolution is a formal declaration of no confidence in Steve Lurie as UCLA's Associate Vice Chancellor for Campus and Community Safety due to his direct involvement in coordinating violent and unconstitutional police responses to student protests, particularly the May 2024 encampment and June 10th demonstration. It condemns UCLA's lack of transparency in appointing Lurie without faculty consultation, the escalation of police repression, and the legal and reputational risks his leadership poses to the university. The resolution calls for a faculty-led vote of no confidence by the Academic Senate, the suspension and restructuring of campus policing, and greater transparency in student involvement in future safety-related decisions. It affirms USAC's commitment to protecting students' First Amendment rights and ensuring UCLA fosters a safe, inclusive, and democratic environment for all students.
Does anyone have any questions or comments about the resolution? Kiara?
Has anyone been able to meet with Steve Fleury yet on council?
Have you?
Yeah, just in response, actually, it was revealed in our meeting with Michael Beck that he only recently, I guess, like started coming into power like early February, which also explains the lack of communication with us, unfortunately. But that was not made clear until we had to basically ask Michael Beck for that information. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was not able to make that meeting, so I appreciate that. Yeah. I guess I just want to share. Thank you for putting that forth, Tommy. I agree with a lot of the values put forth within that resolution. What comes to mind is that I would have a hard time voting on a no confidence letter before meeting with him. And, I, of course, to take what he's, his experience and what he's done prior very seriously and everything, and to be aware of and informed about, definitely. But yeah, as Javi just said, started in early February. I do think that is important that us as a council meet. And I know we did that previously, the previous chief of safety, Rick Brazil. So that's what kind of where I'm coming from, what comes to mind. I would like to meet with him and be informed on, and discuss from, be able to share from our perspective what each of us think. But yeah, I have a little bit of trouble with voting on the no confidence before meeting.
Have you?
Would love other thoughts and feedback.
yeah, of course. My thoughts around it are just that if UCLA is so willing to, for example, hire someone who is so instrumental in the types of actions the university was willing to take to repress student protest, especially that led to like the brutalization of so many students, that led to many students needing to be like basically like ambulanced by their peers to the hospital and back to their homes because they felt unsafe using university services. And also, as someone who has multiple friends and has lived with people who experience PTSD as a result of the actions taken by the university and by the police, of which Steve Lurie helped oversee in regards to the encampment, I think, especially with everything that was written in the letter about, faculty also condemning them and everything, while I agree that it is important that we do meet with him, I don't think that that is enough to say that we cannot file a vote of no confidence, given that we have enough of his history and enough of like his actions in regards to policing to know that he will not change the status quo of like what we are seeing. And while we can certainly have a relationship with him, I don't think giving him the benefit of the doubt of the situation would benefit anyone, especially because so many students are already like staunchly opposing this as well. So I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. If anyone else has any thoughts, feel free to share.
Sorry, just really quickly and just in response, thank you, Javi. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, should be held accountable for every, previous actions that have affected our faculty, our students, endangered students, made them feel unsafe to even now be on campus and everything. So I completely agree. I would love other thoughts from council too, but I agree. I think, of course, should be held accountable for previous action.
Chris?
Yeah, I think that student safety is very important, and obviously, there are definitely issues with student safety not being protected by UCLA. I do think, though, that this resolution, just to be clear, is about no confidence in Steve Lurie in his current position, though, and he's only held it for a week. Is that, I think that's correct, right?
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Tommy and Diego. So, just to be clear, this resolution is for no confidence for Steve Lurie in his current position, and not for condemning. I mean, the title of it at least is no confidence in Steve Lurie's associate vice chancellor. And to be clear, that is a position he's only held since the beginning of this month, right?
It's not saying that it just in his position now, it's saying that we don't have confidence that he'll be able to do the job, not in his evaluating what he's done in this week, but just him as who he is, his history just is not fit to do this job and protect students, which is what the job of the Associate Vice Chancellor of Campus and Community Safety is supposed to do.
Okay. I do think, I'm not saying no at this point, I'm still thinking about it, but it is kind of hard to vote no confidence in somebody when they just did start the position. I mean, I think maybe if it was worded as saying that he might not be a good fit for the position, or maybe the appointment was bad. That might be one thing, but I'm not really sure if this would have a positive effect in terms of campus safety or in terms of building relationships with the admin, or even encouraging admin to take feedback from us.
Mono.
While I understand what you're saying, Chris, and the fact that he is new to this position doesn't change the fact that he's coming into a position where he's meant to oversee the type of actions by bodies that the university oversees, such as the ones that he was involved in the last academic year here at UCLA. And so knowing his history here at UCLA and his past positions that are involved in these spaces, I think it's more than enough for us to have no confidence in his ability to oversee that specific area.
Nico.
Oh, sorry. I agree that I'm not very confident in this individual in this new role that he's taking. My only concern is that since we haven't met with Steve Lurie, if we put forth a resolution saying we have no confidence, that would be our first impression with him. And then I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking of myself, like if someone was no confident in me, I wouldn't really be open to their ideas or their like I wouldn't really want to meet with them and be open to any of their feedback. So while I don't have confidence in this individual, it's just I think for like first impressions, we should meet with him first and try to give him our own thoughts and like kind of 2 cents on his past behavior and his new role. And then kind of keep the resolution on the burner. And then if he's not open to our feedback, or if like the meeting doesn't go well, then we pass it. But it's just kind of hard to put forth his first impression with someone we haven't met before, because I'm worried it's gonna kind of like taint any future discussions we have with him.
Diego.
Hi, everyone. I just kind of want to sort of address like I think the backbone of this resolution, like kind of provide context. Like us as the council has this past year, we've provided input to UCLA policing. We passed a letter to the UC Regents opposing the militarization of UCPD. And I know that we're all staunch opponents of increasing campus policing. And it's very sad to see that UCLA is continuously increasing its connections with local law enforcement. And I know that there's like opinions going around that we haven't really necessarily met Steve Lurie as a council. We haven't been able to work with him. However, I think it's something that we have to address. The fact that us as a council, we have to be strong opponents to an increase in campus policing. I think that we can't just sit by and like let UCLA administration create bureaucratic officials that aren't held accountable and that aren't ever going to be receptive to student feedback. And I think that's something that we need to continuously be proactive in terms of what we pass. This vote of no confidence isn't necessarily in, I guess, like in the work that he's done. I know he's barely started. However, like kind of echoing what Javi and Mona have been saying is that we've seen the work that he's already done to our campus and the impact that he's had negatively on our students. Which is why something like a no confidence vote is honestly really important, just so that our trust, and I guess I would say lack of trust, is seen in other governing bodies like the academic senate, or even the staff assembly, or just like in campus as a whole.
Tommy, followed by Josh.
Yeah, so I just think, I don't know. I feel like I hear a lot of commentary about we need to hear him out, we need to see what he does. And I think it's just important to center in this conversation that we have already seen and heard the actions of Steve Lurie. We have seen hundreds of our classmates get arrested in the encampment. We heard the screams of students as they were shot at with rubber bullets by police. And I feel like at the end of the day, we need to remember that as a USAC council, our job is to represent the interests of our students. And this position of Vice Chancellor of Campus Safety, there are literally so many other people this university could have chose to hire for this position. And yet, it seems like a slap in the face for them to have hired someone who was so directly involved in the brutalization of our fellow peers. And as a council, I think we just really need to remember we are the Undergraduate Students Association Council, not the Undergraduate Admin Association Council. Like, our job is to represent the well-being of our students, and Steve Lurie is someone who has disregarded that well-being in the past, so clearly does not align with what our council is here to do. So I think in terms of when we go out to vote on this, we really just need to be centering that, the students. And when students look at this vote in the coming week, we have a chance here to set the record straight that we got to this before something bad happened. God forbid something down the line happened under Steve Lurie's watch, and that was because we chose to not speak out sooner. And then when something bad happens, then we're going to decide to speak out? No, something bad has already happened. We are getting ahead of it before something else can be brought to light. Thank you.
Josh.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, thank you to the sponsors for writing this. I really do agree with a lot of what was written in here. I think I personally have no confidence in this particular individual being appointed to this office, especially given their extremely negative history with the encampment during the last spring. I don't know. I kind of want to ask the sponsors, what is going to be done with this resolution strategically if it's passed tonight? Like I see this line here saying, calling for immediate action by the UCLA Academic Senate to hold a vote of no confidence. So is the plan to like send the resolution to the Academic Senate afterwards to demand a vote of no confidence? I'm just kind of curious to hear like what strategically the plan is going to be after this resolution is passed. I think something I want to do highlight is I think last quarter, when Rick Brazil was the ABC of Campus Safety, something that really helped us out is having those weekly meetings with him and having those conversations with him. Even though we didn't necessarily pass a resolution against him, I think being engaged in those discussions and holding him accountable in those weekly meetings played a very big role in allowing us to express those concerns by having those meetings every single week with him.
Tommy, do you want to respond?
Yeah, I can respond real quick. So basically, yeah, Josh, so immediately after this resolution, should it be passed, we would begin immediate action to try to get this to the attention of the Academic Senate to hopefully get a vote on their agenda. Whether that means my office will be directly sending it as well, and we can also hopefully start a petition to try to get students in this effort as well, and maybe even start an emailing campaign. But like I said, as far as I can speak for myself in my office, any resolution that we do put forth, we make sure that it is something that is actionable. So there definitely are multiple avenues which we can take to hopefully achieve the goals of this resolution, which is protecting the overall safety and well-being of our students.
Have you?
Yeah. Also, sorry, just to kind of iron out this conversation and everything. For everyone who is scared of potentially this leading to Steve Lurie not wanting to meet with us as a council, or even meet with individual representatives like myself, like Josh or Adam, as we have previously been meeting with Rick Brazil before he stepped down from his position. I think it's also like noteworthy I think it's worth noting that for one, again, like I mentioned, a couple weeks ago when I was giving a report about what happened at the Regents meeting as of recent, the UC system-wide director, of campus safety, Jody Steiger, gave a pretty false report about the fact that there were active police accountability boards on each campus. And that's significant because even though like our campus safety oversight committee has met recently and is planning to continue meetings again, as Adam has mentioned, back last Friday, I believe, during like in private chats. That still, again, shouldn't be like our only way of, I guess, criticizing the police as well. But the main thing I kind of want to get to is just the fact that like also in our meetings with UC Office of the President earlier this year, UC President Michael Drake made it very clear that if student governments and their councils and their senators or whatever, if they have difficulty securing meetings with administration and everything, he can help apply pressure to that. I'm not saying like yes, we should also just rely on like UCOP to also help us and everything. We do have power as a student body. We do know that there are students who are explicitly passionate about getting cops off campus and abolishing UCPD. There are multiple different avenues that we could take to ensure that these meetings still continue to happen. So we shouldn't be concerned about being well respected by admin because, like Tommy said, we were elected by students for students, and so by filing this vote of no confidence and sending it to the academic senate and doing subsequent follow-ups to administration to make it known that we are not a fan of not only this appointment but of this office, as it was created to further suppress student free speech, as a means of basically distracting from the fact that this is like an entire admin issue and not just a Steve Leary or a Rick Brazeau issue. Like that's what we need to be focusing on. And I just want to offer the reassurance that there are ways for us to still continue having any form of relationship while still having ways to voice our concerns, our no confidence. So if you guys want to talk more about that, I feel free to and everything, but just I want to help alleviate those anxieties. At least is that you guys have people on this council with connections to the relevant parties that can twist the arm of administration to ensure that their admin, which are essentially public servants, are supposed to be meeting with their constituents, especially their representatives. So
Sorry, Kiara, I want to give my 2 cents on all of this. So I think I agree with the general notion or idea that the resolution is trying to hint at, but I don't think I agree with the extent to which we're going. And I'm going to touch on a couple of things. First of all, Javi and Josh and I have all been meeting with Rick Brazil over the past couple of months. And I don't know if Javi or Josh would disagree with me, but I think those meetings have been to at least a certain extent productive, and we've had some things come out of them, at least very valuable information come out of them. And so anything that would potentially hinder that, especially something that's happening before he even took his position, I think would hinder our ability to properly address our concerns at those meetings, or for him to properly receive those concerns. And then to the point of everything that happened before he started his position, I think that's very important. And I would know, I was there, and a lot of things happened when I was there. But I also think there's, to a certain extent, a distinction between his previous role at APD and his current role at UCLA. And I think it's important for us to at least hear out what that potential distinction is going to look like for him. I think last spring was horrible, obviously, and there's a lot of people that need to be held accountable. But I don't know if first of all, at APD doesn't have the authority to come on campus and just arrest students. It came from UCLA. UCLA gave them the ability to do so. So I think the primary factor here, or the stopping factor, is UCLA and UCLA administration. And to the point that Tommy was making about a vote of no confidence making the academic senate, Gene Block's vote of no confidence barely made the academic senate last year, and it didn't even pass. So while it may happen, I highly doubt this goes anywhere. And just from a pro-con standpoint, the cons are way more than the potential pros. And while I don't think that potentially that changes the sentiment, it's just Tommy was also talking about how it's our job to represent the interests of our students, and I think passing this hinders our ability to represent the interests of our students, which is why I think we don't do this now. Have you?
Okay, I see where you are coming from. I respectfully disagree. It's what I'm going to say. Again, there are ways to ensure that admin, including Steve Leary, continue to meet with students and best represent our interests. I think it is in the best interest of this council, seeing as just how eruptive last year was in regards to protests and free speech, and also interactions with the police, and how that has led to further weaponization by the UC to threaten students who are going to be engaging in these actions and everything. I think also something to note as well is that UCLA and the UCA as a whole have made essentially no statements in regards to things like, for example, current President Trump threatening to deport quote unquote pro Hamas sympathizers and everything and protesters and everything. I think that also signals to what the university's positionality is, and especially with the appointment of someone like Steve Lurie, who helped oversee the attacks on the encampment by law enforcement that were orchestrated by UCLA. I think it's also important to just note that I lost my train of thought. Jesus. Okay. I think that with the appointment of someone like Steve Lurie, who is so responsible for the oversight of police brutality on our campus just last spring and everything, I think it's also just important to note the fact that the university does not see this stuff in a vacuum. So we should not as well. I know that he technically hasn't been able to do much in his current position because he has only been really empowered for a week or two now and everything, but we should not be viewing any of these actions in a vacuum. A cop is still a cop at the end of the day, and he's going to continue being on the side of the police. So even if we don't get these meetings, or even if we do, it's going to be a difficult uphill battle. So I see there being no point in filing this report of no confidence from USAC and then pushing the academic senate to do the same. And yeah, it may not pass and everything, but that doesn't mean that should hinder us from being able to express the fact that we stand with students primarily. Okay?
Kira?
Okay. Yeah, I want to follow up with what I had said before. Thank you guys for all sharing your thoughts on things. I think I have grown a little bit of my thinking from hearing from everyone else. I appreciate, Javi, how you acknowledged, our anxiety, thinking about that liaisoning between admin and students. I think where I was coming from especially was that when I was bringing up the meeting and everything, I agree. Our position, we were elected by students. We are representing students. We need to advocate for their safety, their ability to trust their admin and us to be able to advocate for them. And so I agree. And I think within that, part of it is being that liaison and being able to work with these entities and having that input and bringing what students need. So that is where a lot of my concern came from. So I appreciate you addressing that. So I would agree with also what Josh said in terms of I do not have confidence in necessarily this individual's position taking what his direct impact on our campus, so not even just general experience, what he did, his direct impact on our campus. And so what I want to ensure is that we are able to, in our responsibility of advocating and working with students, that we are still using our platform to work with those entities. So I'm like you mentioned, those certain ways of ensuring that we are still a part of those conversations. I want to ensure that we are still, since that is a big department and power that this individual has in terms of working with, no matter what goes forward with this resolution, but working with law enforcement, with the other entities of safety on campus, just making sure that we are still involved and making sure that we are continually to have that involvement, liaisoning between students, us, and that entity. So as long as we're considering that and ensuring that because I don't agree, making sure that we are still involved in those decisions. I am leaning. I understand. Of course, this resolution. That was my concern.
Can I quickly respond? Yeah, again, thank you, Kira, for also being so willing to hear all of what's being offered right now by different council members, especially me, because this is a topic that does hold a particular place in my mind constantly, just because of how it has deeply affected people in my life. I will say that even though it's not a clause in the specific resolution, I am willing to help leverage the power that my office has and the connections that we have to different system-wide folk who oversee things like campus safety, who oversee the rest of the UC, like UC Office of the President and the President himself, Michael Drake. If that would make you all feel more comfortable that we have a written agreement in this resolution that, that if in the case negotiations fall through, that we will take the appropriate measures through higher ups beyond UCLA administration, I'm willing to add that, and I'm willing to help take a bit of responsibility for that as well, but also welcoming the help of the other offices here and those who were unable to make it tonight to help ensure that we're accurately representing the needs and wants of students. While also making sure that all of our asks are, within reason, are actionable and everything. But yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If we could collaborate and others, if anyone else has feedback on that, I think if we can maybe integrate that somehow or have that written out or anything, you're good. I think that would be beneficial. I think we should continue to establish our role, since that collaboration is still part of our responsibility from my perspective. Whether or not we agree with the person in the role, like, we're still working and being involved in those decisions, while of course still standing on how we view the individual and making sure they're accountable. So if we can integrate that, I think that could be beneficial. Welcome feedback though.
Feel free if you think that my understanding is wrong, but I think a resolution of no, or a vote of no confidence is essentially saying we don't believe this person is capable of doing the job. So then why would we continue meeting with that person and trying to work with that person if we believe that they have no ability to perform their job? I think this is it's a yes or no thing. There's no in between, and that's what I know vote of no confidence usually is. We either think the person might be able to do the job, and proceed to try and work with them, or we vote that we have no confidence in the individual, and then I think that's at least to a certain extent indicating that we wouldn't be willing to meet or work with them because we have no confidence in their ability to do their job. But correct me if you think my understanding is wrong. Diego.
Yeah, everyone. I think there was the point brought up that the academic senate did introduce this and then didn't vote on it. But from my understanding, they were never consulted with council, and I'm just going back to like Harvey's like sentiments of in terms of concerns of student fears. I don't think that us as a council we shouldn't be proactive, and we shouldn't just like turn this away. A resolution like this is super important to send a statement out to the entire council in terms of our stance on policing. And then for those of you who don't know, UCLA and the entire UC system actually had a stance in terms of policing back in 2020, where they were looking for alternative forms of policing. There was a committee for policing that USAC then president Naomi Riley sat on. And it's really unfortunate to see that all of this is kind of backrolling, and that UCLA is actually creating a entirely different new office of quote unquote campus safety, which at the end of the day is just going to continue to attack students and their actions. And this person isn't necessarily ever going to be held accountable, even if we vote or don't vote on this resolution. This person isn't necessarily always going to be receptive to our feedback at the end of the day.
Josh.
Yeah, super quickly, just want to thank Javi for like acknowledging our concerns about the possibility of not being able to meet with Steve Lurie in the event this doesn't pass. I think it's kind of opened my perspective on passing this resolution a little bit more. Also just want to echo what Kara was saying. I think this year is kind of unprecedented in terms of the amount of times that USAC has been able to meet with administrators. Like Campus Safety Alliance under IVP was originally established like over a decade ago because administrators would not work with USAC. So I think it's really important that we continue to keep up those relationships, but I don't think it's necessarily wrong to pursue like more than one way of advocacy, like working with the academic senate to like challenge the notion of the actual office of the campus safety, as well as having these conversations with Steve Lurie too.
Anyone else? Tommy.
And I just really want to emphasize what Josh said. This is what this resolution is all about. It's reimagining safety as a whole at UCLA, given the events of last year. If you read the let it be, therefore resolved clauses, literally it says a suspension to the Office of Campus and Community Safety. Because as we've seen with TPM and stuff this year, clearly that strategy has not been working for UCLA students. So it's really taking a step back to hopefully point us in a better direction. If UCLA's answer of pointing us into a better direction is appointing someone who was directly in some way, shape, or form involved in the brutalization of hundreds of our students, I don't think that's a step in a better direction. And I think we really just have to vote on this matter with our morals, but also our commitment to progress. So a vote of no confidence, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to want to work with us. If anything, that should be more of a reason for the university to want to work with us, because they should want to see their students feeling safe, and they should want to see their students' voices being heard. Because at the end of the day, if UCLA students are not happy and they do not feel safe, we will not be silenced.
Tommy, would you not agree that a vote of no confidence means that we wouldn't want to work with them as well?
A vote of no confidence means that we do not feel they are fit to do the job. And if that means working with them to reimagine campus safety as a whole and find somebody else, still means working with them. But this one individual should not be the one to fill the job.
So let's say we pass a resolution of no confidence. Do you imagine that we would still potentially be working with Steve Lurie, let's say until any action is taken?
As I said, what's going to happen when if the resolution is passed, is we would approach the academic senate for a vote. Given that they weren't consulted, I think that was also an overstep on the university's part, given just the significance of this position. But the notion that we are not going to be able to work with admin, I think is just wrong. And I don't think that should be something that dictates the outcome of this resolution, because at the end of the day, I don't foresee there being a case where admin just shuts off their communications with us altogether.
That's not what I'm asking about. I'm asking, so given let's say we pass the resolution of no confidence, that would indicate that we have no confidence in Steve Lurie to do his job, which what I'm asking is, do you think that would mean we shouldn't work with him? Like separate from all the academic stuff and whatever may happen. If this resolution passes, it's basically us saying we don't think you can do your job, and correct me if my inference is wrong, but saying you can't do your job would mean that we probably wouldn't want to work with him. So if the resolution passes, do you, besides all the academic and whatever stuff you're mentioning, do you think that it would make sense for us to not work with Steve Lurie, given we have no confidence in his ability?
I think it's important to note that when we're voting on no confidence, it's voting on no confidence. It's not as cut and dry of just to do his job, but to do his job to protect students effectively. Like, we've seen how this administration has attempted to protect us in the past. And essentially, by not voting no on this resolution, we're reaffirming that same strategy. We can't go into this year and we can't go forward with the same broken strategy that we had going into last year of heavy policing on this campus. It just does not work. And if anything, it puts more students at risk. So yes, there is no confidence in Steve Lurie in this position, because it is the same failed strategy that has gotten students almost killed. I can't express it anymore. I feel like the resolution is written, its sentiments are there. Like I said earlier, we just got to put the needs of the students we were elected to represent first.
I mean, yeah, but there's a lot of logistics and potential stuff that may come out of the resolution, which is just why I'm asking these questions. I'm just concerned that a resolution of no confidence, like, I'm not necessarily, I don't know how admin would react, and that's not what I'm concerned about now. It just, I think it's a really big thing to say on our behalf, and saying that would at least indicate that we wouldn't be willing to work with Steve Lurie if he stays in the position, which is a sentiment I don't think we should put out, because regardless of whether we like it or not, that's how the system is now. And given that it's our job to represent the students and their interests, working within that capacity is really important. Have you?
Okay, all right. To read one of the actual clauses that are in here, let it further be resolved that USAC calls for the immediate suspension of the Office of Campus and Community Safety's operations as currently structured, and demands a comprehensive review of UCLA's approach to policing on campus with a commitment to ending practices that infringe upon students' rights to protest and assembly. So, passing this resolution of no confidence and calling upon the academic senate to do the same would not halt our work to continue making sure that the university imagines things like campus safety in a way that is actually student-centered and benefits the average student. It just means that we don't believe Steve Lurie is the right one for the job, and if the university is going to insist on keeping this office and keeping someone in this position to help oversee that, then council has the intention of making sure that they are held accountable to the bitter end. Even if that means like temporarily suspending their operations for the time being while we conduct full oversight of like what their operations are, what their praxis is, and most importantly, how the hell they're even finding these people to help lead the offices. Does that help?
I still don't think anyone's answered my question or my concern. We pass it. I'm going to try and simplify it. We pass this resolution. We're saying we don't believe that Steve Lurie can do his job. Do we still meet with Steve Lurie while he's in his capacity?
Josh, do you want to go or should I?
I had a question actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was there any effect on your guys' relationship with admin last year after the no confidence resolution in Gene Block was?
Gene Block didn't meet with us a single time all of last spring quarter. President Drake asked Gene Block to meet with us. He still didn't meet with us for the entire spring quarter.
Okay. I guess just to.
I'm not necessarily sorry.
No, yeah, you continue.
I'm not against the sentiments. It's just like the practicality of it and what we're saying.
Yes. Yeah. Again, like this isn't saying like this isn't out for one. There's no clause saying outright that we are not going to meet with Steve Lurie if he continues being in this position. It just means a no confidence vote, that we don't have confidence in his ability to do his job. And if that means, if, for example, it goes to the academic senate and the no confidence vote fails and we continue to have Steve Lurie, it's so important that we meet with him. Because regardless, he's going to be the one in charge of these things. But most importantly, like what Josh mentioned earlier and everything, there isn't just one way to do this type of advocacy as well. So even if, maybe it entails meeting with Steve Lurie is not the end all be all, as weird as that sounds and everything. So there are also alternate ways that we can take it. And that's what I was trying to emphasize earlier is that if we are having difficulty meeting with representatives from UCLA administration, whether it be Steve Lurie, whether it be one of the administrative vice chancellors, Vice Chancellor Gordon, Beck, whatever, whoever, Chancellor Frank even, there are ways to put pressure on administration to ensure that we still have these reasonable like confrontations with folks and everything. Even if it means not going directly through Steve Lurie or even having like an intermediary, to help conduct those meetings as well. We do have other administrators that we meet with, like Vice Chancellor Beck, like Chancellor Frank, that we can air out these concerns to as well, that I suspect administration has a very tight-knit set of communications in between each other to help, voice these concerns of their constituents. So there are ways that we can still express our like concerns. I'm not saying that we're not going to meet with him because obviously nothing in this resolution indicates that, but it is just saying, hey, there needs to be a comprehensive review as well of like what UCLA is doing in regards to policing and campus safety.
Sorry, Jessica, just one thing. If we have no confidence in Steve Lurie's his ability to do his job, then why would we meet with him and trust his ability to talk with us and take our criticism and our thoughts to heart?
Because that helps bring a stronger case. If we want to continue, if we want to continue this campaign of, telling Steve Lurie that we're not confident in his position, also getting the university to be a lot less freaking like police state in regards to our campus and everything, then it's especially important that we criticize the people that they are appointing. I feel like that's a sentiment that's been echoed this entire time. And frankly, it feels like you're not listening to that. Yeah, I mean, look, I understand it seems like weird to issue a vote of no confidence and then want to continue meeting with him. But at the end of the day, it's like what you said. This is the system that we have. So even if we express our like discontent for it, discontent for a certain administrator and everything, if we have to continue working with them for the sake of policy, we can continue doing that. Whether or not we can trust them, that's something that unfortunately will not work out in their favor because that only helps build a stronger case in terms of their ability to continue doing their work. There are other ways of checks and balancing these folks. There are folks at the UC-wide, at the system-wide level who hold these people accountable, who help create certain policy that students are actively working with. So there are ways of ensuring that these people actually listen to our concerns, even if it's not Steve Lurie directly.
Jessica or Pamela?
Yeah, I just had two quick things. So one, just as a friendly reminder to make friendly amendments if there are portions of the resolution that some folks are not as comfortable with, or if you feel like there needs to be another whereas clause, another let it be resolved clause, maybe an amendment to the title, to feel free to propose the amendments as you're having this discussion so that you can get it to a point where you are going to vote on it. If that's the direction you're going. And then I wanted to recommend an edit on the second to last let it be further resolved clause. regarding the legal action. So USAC as an entity is not able to take legal action. So I would either say like encourages students to take legal action as an individual, or just remove that portion of that clause.
Any other thoughts? Ferdinand?
Yeah, just thinking, really appreciate the conversation and getting to hear all of these perspectives. And again, agree that we're here to represent students and that comes first. I think that's something that's resonating with me as I think about this further. I don't necessarily think it's a black and white situation where like if we pass this resolution, it means we can't necessarily work with administration. But I do think there is like a concern there that some people have been expressing that I can definitely understand as well. So I think maybe thinking about how we can maybe add a clause or something that, like I think Javi suggested, where we're able to kind of say our next steps in terms of like trying to maybe connect with and collaborate with them, as well as maybe thinking about changing, I don't know about the title, but I don't know. I just feel like I really agree with the sentiment. And I think that something like this is extremely important to be passed. But I think that we shouldn't let that like hinder, like, I don't think that we should let, these concerns too overly hinder like our ability to pass something like this that's so important. But I think there might need to be some type of amendment made just to make it so it's more clear that we're very like we want to collaborate and we want to help shape safety and policing on campus. Not sure like what that would be, but if anyone has ideas, feel free to share.
I just think it's, I don't know if this is a real word, but oxymoron-ish for us to say we have no confidence in this guy and then proceed to work with him or potentially work with him. That's just something that I don't think works in my head. A vote of no confidence means we have no confidence in you or your ability to do your job. I just don't see how then would that would then translate to we want to meet with you, we want to work with you. Also, the narrative, or not the narrative, the story of Gene Block last year is maybe why I have a lot of concerns. Well, I 100% think we should have voted in no confidence of Gene Block, and I did vote in no confidence of Gene Block. After that happened, for 3 months, we tried to get meetings with Gene Block about the situation, but those never happened. And President Drake tried forcing him to meet with us, and he never met with us. So I just think that says a bit. And I would argue that our inability to meet with him led to a lack of a lot of progress that could have happened the end of last year.
I just think that especially in the context of those.
Please raise your hand. Tommy, followed by Nico, followed by Chris.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing, Adam. Amongst other council members, I'm hearing a lot of things about maybe adding a clause. I am really open to adding a clause. So I think maybe just in terms of hopefully trying to reach kind of a compromise or consensus, what type of clauses would we like to hear? Because like I said, our goal is progress at the end of the day. So I'm really open to hearing what your all's thoughts are of how we can hopefully make this a better safe and more safe environment for our students.
Nico?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for kind of like sharing their views on this. I think it's been like very eye-opening for me and just being able to hear other perspectives. It sounds like the wording of like no confidence is something that is of like concern. So like I think it was Jessica who suggested a title change, but would like a vote of serious concern or of like lack of confidence be more open-ended to where it wouldn't necessarily like shut off communication with him or like have the potential to shut off communication that like what Adam was saying happened with Gene Block in the past, but still showing that USAC doesn't really trust this guy or have confidence in him, but it's not as severe as no confidence. So it would still keep the door open for future communications with him, but while still getting our point across, if that makes sense.
I 100% agree with that. Something like a lack of trust, I think, pushes the same sentiment and doesn't close the door to a lot of different stuff. Javi, do you still have your comments?
Yes, just that if we really care so much about language, again, saying that we don't have trust in it is the same as saying no confidence, in my opinion.
There's a big difference. no confidence means we have zero confidence in your ability to do your job, and I think that's indicative of us not wanting to work with him. Whereas a lack of trust or concern over the appointment would be more appropriate language, given that we have concern over his past actions, and not no confidence, given that we still be willing to work with him. Tommy, followed by Pamela.
Pamela can go first.
Pamela.
Thank you, Tommy. Good evening, USAC. I truly appreciate your conversation you all are having on this tonight. I think you're doing a great job with your due diligence of having a really critical conversation. I would highly recommend, as you all have done in the past, is because language is important, and also working with admin on student advocacy is important as well, is that you all table this and really come together and think about the wording that you're looking for in regards to that, while you're simultaneously building a plan to still work with the chancellor, on this matter. And we were always here to help you in regards, like we did the last time with Garden Language, myself, Jessica, Jonathan, or Lorelai, including Orlando and Lori. I'm sure they would. So I just wanted to say that in regards to that, but I do think it's something that you all need to discuss a little bit more further in hearing everyone's sentiment tonight.
Tommy.
Yeah, with all due respect, we kind of voted not to bring this forth to meeting last week because there wanted to be more time for dialogue on it. Council has had access to this resolution for now a week. It was put on the agenda on time. I really just don't think tabling, if there were really that big of concerns, like we had a whole week to bring forth them. And I think we did. We are hopefully in the path of making some friendly amendments right now. So I really think just continuing this conversation now so we can put forth a product that we can hopefully take some sort of action to make this campus a better place starting sooner rather than later. I'd be in favor of that.
Orlando.
Just the great conversations, everyone. I know everyone has their opinions. For those that are interested, if you would like to, I could help organize a sit down with Steve and council if that is the concern, prior to, and I understand Tommy's frustrated with, this potentially another delay, but if we wanted to sit down and kind of meet with them, with Steve specifically, I would say, I could help coordinate something like that. I could reach out even starting that conversation tonight if that's something that you all would be interested in doing.
Josh, Javi, and I are already planning that meeting. Javi?
Just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that I did add a potential amendment to the document. For those of y'all who don't have the doc open, it does say, let it further be resolved that the USAC will additionally work with system-wide offices such as UC Office of the President, UCOP, and the system-wide Director of Community Safety to ensure that the discussions related to campus safety and policing are still being had with adequate student representation present. Bearing in mind that USAC offices like the External Vice President's Office have direct connections to the aforementioned bodies and coalitions such as the UC Students Association, UC Graduate and Professional Council, UC GPC, and non-UC related entities to ensure that pressure is continuing to be applied in the realm of campus policing. Does that work as a potential amendment?
Thanks for going through the detail of that. That sounded good. Did that include his office, or was it the other, like the other routes of going to that we could, like, alternative routes?
Yeah. So that that amendment was meant to sort of highlight the additional routes that we can possibly take.
Okay.
But given the language of what I put right now, it also does mean that even if we are still working with Steve Lurie in his Office of Campus Safety, that we are also working in conjunction with the aforementioned offices as well. So it's a two-way thing.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. I think ensuring both of those. So like you said, seems that a language thing is a big, I guess, conflict of where, because I think we all, from what I'm gathering, I think we all have similar values in how we perceive, of course, his previous experience and effect on our campus. Those, of course, who sponsored, I guess I just want to bring it up. Sounds like it's like, especially the no confidence part is what is kind of, not that we all have to agree, but just like, it seems like the no confidence part is where we're pretty divided on that part. Guess I don't know if anyone has other feedback on that. I know someone had brought up like serious concern, but I appreciate yeah, any other thoughts if that is the defining factor of this that we want to put forth, but just want to bring up like if anyone has other thoughts on if especially those that sponsored it, if that would make still making a statement about our opinion about the very like zero confidence in it while still opening working with them, especially with that clause. So I just want to bring that up for especially those who wrote it. Want to get your thoughts.
Would anyone be opposed to a resolution of serious concern and Steve Leary as Associate Vice Chancellor? Espino?
I have a lot of thoughts, of course, running through my head, like a lot of others. Something that I was just reading right now, which was posted by the Los Angeles Times, and I kind of just wanted to offer it for some context, but Lurie was sort of interviewed, and his response is, as a proud alum, I recognize the impact my UCLA education has had on my professional and personal development. I look forward to spending my first 100 days on campus listening and learning more about the Bruin community safety concerns, as a safe university is defined by much more than the absence of a crime. Again, I just read this right now, so I'm kind of digesting it, but I'm not sure what day we are on now, 10, 11, perhaps. So again, just sort of wanted to put that out there.
Tommy?
Yeah, so if that's truly the sentiment that Steve is bringing forth, and if you guys already have plans on having a meeting with him, Orlando said he could help us organize something. I definitely think if his sentiments are true, that he, even if we say we have no confidence, he would want to hopefully create confidence, which means meeting with us. So regardless of this wording of the title, literally the resolution is still going to remain the same in its sentiments, etc., which means calling for a vote of no confidence by the academic senate. And thinking from the students' perspective, for the people that were out here in the encampment, like I think it's really hard for us to put forth a vote of any form of confidence when that type of experience happens. And I think there has to be a reckoning that there are alternatives to not having a cop who was involved directly in this event that happened on campus as our sole and only option to campus safety. In what world is this our only option? It is not. And it is our job to find and put pressure on another solution. But in order for us to put forth a better solution, we have to be firm in our stance that the solution that the university has put forth right now, Steve Lurie, is not it.
Josh?
Okay, I'm just gonna put up the suggestion, and the sponsors can totally shoot it down if they want. But since the no confidence thing seems to be an issue, could the sponsors maybe consider revising the resolution to frame it more as no confidence in the Office of Campus Safety, rather than the specific individual? Just because this office has been very problematic since it was originally implemented in the spring, and I think this, if it was framed like that, would also remove Adam's concern of targeting Steve Lurie specifically and hindering our ability to meet with him too. If it was framed more as a no confidence in the office itself rather than the specific individual. Of course, Steve Lurie could definitely be mentioned along with his previous history. Sorry, throughout the resolution too, and keeping most of the content the same. But just wanted to throw that out there.
Yes, Pino, as your hand set up.
Yes. I just also wanted to add some context. With respect to the academic senate, if this proposal were to, we just had a legislative assembly meeting. I believe it happened last week, February 6th to be exact. The legislative assembly meets usually 4 times a year, spread out throughout the year. And then their next meeting would be on April 3rd, meaning that this could be an agenda item on their next, but it wouldn't be until a few months from now, unless a special meeting were to be called, which forgive me, but I'm not aware if that specific committee has the ability to do so. I would argue that it does, but again, just for context.
Tommy?
I think ultimately, like I said, this resolution was put forth with the intention of promoting student safety. And if a change to the title is really what is going to be needed for this resolution to go through in order to promote that, I'm more than open to accepting that amendment of changing it to a resolution of no confidence in the Office of Campus and Community Safety rather than Steve Lurie as a whole. So if people are open to having that conversation, then moving it forward to a vote, let's do it.
Would you also be willing to change the things in the resolution that call upon Steve Lurie specifically and change it to the Office of Campus Safety?
No, I feel like we can add the campus safety aspect. Steve Lurie aspect stays the same.
Sorry, Chris. Sorry, 1 second. Tommy, I don't want to be rude, and I don't like I this is actually coming from like a place like of concern, but I just don't feel like my question has been answered yet, and I think it's an important question. My concern, I think you thought my concern was about admin's willingness to agree to meet with us, but I think my concern is stemmed more from why would we be willing to meet with admin or with Steve Lurie when we have no confidence in Steve Lurie? And while there are other routes we can take, yes, this is the most direct and it has been the most effective route that we've implemented over the past couple of months. So why would we meet with an individual that we have no confidence in? So my concern isn't stemming from the fact that they wouldn't meet with us. It's just that I think that saying that we have no confidence in someone would indicate that we wouldn't want to meet with them, given we have no trust in their ability to execute their position. Ramsey, you said everything.
Yeah, I just want to say that it's just not appropriate to have a resolution that targets Steve Lurie in the title or the body until we can actually meet with him. And so, unless we're able to change that, I wouldn't be able to support this. If we did have a resolution that was, in its entirety, so body and title both, about the Office of Campus and Community Safety, then I'd certainly be very open to that. That being said, if we can't agree to change it in title and body both, then I kind of doubt that this resolution is going to be able to move forward today.
Kira?
Yeah, I appreciate the discussion going on here. I can speak for myself and say that with the amendment, appreciate the sponsors being open, for this discussion and, hearing out our concerns. And I do recognize also what you said, Tommy. I know this has been there for a week, and I appreciate, that we're still having this discussion now. I speak for myself personally and say that if we did make the amendment with what Josh said, with making a little bit more broad in the title, I do understand keeping the specifics of an individual in terms of accountability. But with the amendment with what Josh said, I would be comfortable moving forward and voting, on this matter. But yeah.
Diego, followed by Carolyn.
Diego, I don't know if you wanted to say something before.
Carolyn, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think after thinking about it further, I really like the suggestion that Josh had. So it's not necessarily specifically, targeting. Well, yeah. So I guess it avoids that whole thing where we're like only targeting Steve Lurie as like very directly. But I think keeping the body, I would also personally be comfortable with, because I do think we need to hold him accountable for his previous actions, and I think that's fair to look upon. But I think the no confidence on him is something that maybe I'm less comfortable with. So I agree with changing the title. The body, I personally feel like after kind of hearing out different perspectives, I could be comfortable with what it has now, especially with the amendment that Javi added. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you working to add the amendment and hear out our concerns. So I really like the amendment that you added with working with other routes to collaborate on campus safety. But that's just my 2 cents.
I think our 3 options here are either potentially working on it, which I don't know, Tommy, if you're willing to do that, table it or go with a vote and just see where people stand.
I'm willing to change the title and then head to a vote.
Change the title to what?
Okay, so then it would be a resolution of no confidence in the Office of Campus and Community Safety. And that would be what it is. So that way we're not singling out Lurie as our direct thing of no confidence. It's the whole commission as a whole, or yeah.
Then would you be willing to change the body of the resolution given that the title changed?
Given the sentiment shared by my fellow council members, I'm going to move in favor to hold strong, and I'm going to say we will not change the body, and that I feel like this is compromise enough.
Okay, so I think we're gonna change the title to what Tommy just suggested, and then I would recommend a vote, keeping in mind that the body has stayed the same, the body of the resolution. So could someone motion? Have you?
I move to approve a resolution of no confidence in the Office of Campus and Community Safety.
Second.
Have you motions? Mona seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 9-1-0 vote, that passes. We're going to move on to Javi's letter. Feel free to read through it or summarize it. Your call.
Yeah. So if y'all have been keeping up with the EPP Instagram, like I mentioned in my officer report, there was a very anti-immigrant bill that has been introduced to the state assembly by Assemblymember Asali. Basically, the language of the bill targets undocumented folks and would overturn existing legislation such as Senate Bill 54, the California Values Act. Y'all can search it up. But essentially, California Values Act essentially prohibits local and state law enforcement from collaborating with immigration authorities such as ICE and California Border Patrol. This also adds, additional protections for things like college campuses in regards to, like ICE coming onto campuses or like working with bodies such as UCPD, for example, or LAPD. And Assembly Bill 85, which was introduced earlier at the end of 2024, but is barely being moved into the Assembly's Committee of Public Safety earlier this month on February 3rd, would essentially overturn that and basically allow for there to be a lot less protections for undocumented folk, but also for folks who are going to be profiled by like immigration authorities as a result of this. So essentially this letter is urging the chair of the Assembly's Public Safety Committee, Nick Schultz, who is also an Assembly member, to take into consideration that us as an undergraduate student association council strongly opposes AB 85, authored by Assemblymember Bill Asali, for reasons such as scapegoating and demonizing the immigrant community, creating a backdoor for the violation of due process. Again, this does not affect just undocumented folk. It also does affect citizens that will be wrongfully profiled by immigration authorities and by law enforcement for looking a certain way as well, and also have a devastating impact on California's immigrant families, but also adds meaningful perspectives of not just, like immigrants, adding a lot to California's economy, but also that they deserve the safety and the dignity to be living in the state of California without fears of being wrongfully persecuted for alleged crimes that they didn't even commit. So that is essentially the essence of the letter. If folks would like for me to go into a little bit more about the bill, please just let me know.
Any questions? Seeing none, can we get a motion? Mona.
Motion to sign on the AB 85 Asali USAC opposition letter.
Second.
Mona motions, Josh seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 10-0 vote, that is approved.